Welcome to a Noob's Guide to Kroq-Gar. This is Kroq-Gar, the Last Defender. Sole surviving warrior of the ruined temple city of Shotel, and 8 feet of savage reptilian muscle. This Saurus Oldblood is a perfectly designed killing machine, who for the last millennia has mercilessly hunted down any who trespass into his territory. But recent invasions by Old World powers have forced the Lizardmen to reconsider their isolationist policy. Now, he attacks his neighbors before they can invade him, because in the Kroq-Gar corollary to the Old One's doctrine, you walk softly and carry a big dinosaur. A playable character in the Total War Warhammer series, in this video we'll go over who Kroq-Gar is and how that translates to gameplay, as he has changed a bit for Game 3. Kroq-Gar remains one of the best melee lords in the game, slapping both regular units and lords harder than a Harlem pimp. But who is Kroq-Gar? Well, normally Games Workshop rewrites backstories harder than a Terminator reboot. In earlier editions, he did have a crocodile-shaped face, like a Kroq-Gar, hence the name Kroq, but he's always been a huge, hulking lizard man who likes to smash. And initially, I wasn't sure why everyone loved him so much. I mean, he's just a dinosaur, riding a bigger dinosaur, with a golden robot hand that shoots lasers. And then I answered my own question. His spawning at the temple city of Shotel produced only a handful of Saurus units, a sure sign of greatness as it meant all their techno wound fluid was more condensed. This warrior emerged with instinctive battle cunning, unsurpassed by any of their kind, and possessed an innate ability to dominate and control the native beasts of the jungle with cold-blooded efficiency. And yes, lizardmen are cold-blooded. Scientists now think that dinosaurs were warm-blooded, but even the consensus that birds descended from dinosaurs didn't become popular until after Games Workshop had created the lizardmen, so it's really no fault of theirs. Warhammer lore even implies that dinosaurs still existed in this world during its ice age, and that the Old Ones created the lizardmen to rule over them, genetically editing the reptiles, amphibians, and various other scaly things they found wandering the jungles. Putting it another way, it's not a coincidence that Kroq-Gar's head looks like a bush viper. These are the guard dogs the Old Ones created to patrol their jungle temples. They kill without mercy and slaughter entire regiments with savage efficiency. And there's no finesse to the massacre, the enemy is just simply torn apart limb by limb, and Kroq-Gar is the best of them. In his 1,000 solar orbits and countless wars, he's amassed a service record rivaled only by Audie Murphy, beheading 6 savage orc war bosses in the Shrunken Head War, stomping 1,000 Skaven warlords since the rise of Sotek, and even defeating a Dark Elf Black Ark, grounding the vessel and then personally eating the ballsacks of every raider aboard. He could have amassed a commando-level kill count given enough time, but only centuries after Kroq-Gar entered the Dino Delta Force, the polar warp gates collapsed and the Great Catastrophe occurred around them, and Kroq-Gar and his Saurus brothers rode out on constant patrols around the outskirts of Shotel, smashing entire armies of demons to keep the never-ending forces of chaos from consuming the city, like that can of Pringles you swore you wouldn't eat in a single sitting. The fighting was so savage that Kroq-Gar had 11 mounts killed out from underneath him. So for his 12th mount, Kroq-Gar decided to tame the most volatile and aggressive carnosaur that's ever lived. Grimlock. Hold on, wrong one. That Grimlock. A terrible force of nature who eats demons for breakfast, Skaven for lunch, and filet mignon of man butt for dinner, but still likes a good tummy scratch before going to bed. Normally at this point I would imply there's some sort of semi-consensual zoophilic relationship between these two, but with Kroq-Gar and Grimlock, it really is just a dude and his really cool warhorse, like Roy and Trigger, Alexander and Bucephalus, or Ferris Bueller and Sarah Jessica Parker. Like every story involving chaos, eventually they broke into the city and murdered everyone in the most horrible ways imaginable, poxing their lungs, melting their flesh, chopping off their limbs, and then humping their bodies, but not necessarily in that order. Kroq-Gar and Grimlock were the only two to make it out alive, and have carried out a guerrilla war on anyone who enters their territory ever since. Centuries later, Kroq-Gar is a veritable one-man army, set on a roaring rampage of revenge, because to survive the war, he had to become the war. Kroq-Gar is especially good at surprise tactics, and like any snake in the grass, is meant to ambush his enemies for the kill. But with a starting position overrun by so many rats that his early campaign looks like an issue of man's life, you'll need to set your trap, bait it with something tasty, and then wait like the patient predator you are to be successful in his campaign. Word of a Saurian super soldier fighting for his homeland against overwhelming odds eventually reached the ears of Mazda Mundi, or Tympanum if we're being anatomically correct, as he's a giant hypnotoad. Centuries of never-ending battle had left Kroq-Gar a true Scar veteran, both inside and out. But Mazda Mundi and the Lizardmen needed a merciless killing machine to lead their forces. Kroq-Gar had only one question. So he offered him a choice and an ancient artifact known as the Hand of Gods.
We have the capability to make the world's first bionic lizard. Kroq-Gar will be that lizard. Kroq-Gar is the 6 million cacao lizard. Lizardman.
The Hand of Gods is a unique quest item that replaces Kroq-Gar's lost hand with a wildly impractical hand cannon that fires the light of the heavens. Point it at a blob of enemies and watch as his holy shotgun returns them back to their maker. Because it's well known that when a badass loses a limb, it only makes them stronger. The great lord Mazda Mundi then placed Kroq-Gar back on active duty, assigning him the mission of exterminating any creatures that the Slann deemed not part of the Great Plan. That includes annihilating the Beastmen, destroying the Skaven, exterminating the Dark Elves, extinguishing the Greenskins, killing the Dwarfs, neutralizing Chaos, obliterating the Undead, purging mankind, and just straight murdering whatever else that needs killing once he finds his thesaurus. Oh, there he is. Now there's no continent on which Kroq-Gar and Grimlock have not fought. But now Kroq-Gar has been given his most dangerous and suicidal mission yet: teaching. Tasked with leading the world's last remaining Saurian forces, these hulking lizards will form the backbone of your army into the late game, as Saurus warriors and cold ones in his army gain XP faster and fight harder as they level up, and these two units alone give you both the strength and speed you'll need to win most battles. Similarly, Saurus Old Blood generals and Scar veteran heroes level faster under Kroq-Gar, with the added bonus that with each level they gain, they also get 1% extra weapon damage, stacking as they level up. Clearly, this old campaigner has some tricks to teach his new recruits, and with Kroq-Gar, you can educate the world on the benefits of sang-froid. So play the Jurassic Park game you've waited your entire life for, and munch down on so much man meat that Google starts recommending you full body waxes. Because when you're dinosaur Rambo, you can draw on 65 million years of experience to make the other guy go extinct. Because this has been a noob's guide to Kroq-Gar, the last defender. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like it. If something made you laugh, tell me about what part it was in the comments below, or do none of those things, because if you made it to the end, hopefully you enjoyed yourself regardless. The next Noob's Guide in this series will be N'Kari, Demon Prince of Assless Chaps, who won the vote on Patreon with a whopping 4 votes. So believe me when I say, every vote actually does count. And you can cast yours for the next video now. Thanks for watching.